Okay, we are going to talk a little bit about the franchising business, and we are pleased to be joined by Blake Martin. He is the head of FranNet of the Heartland. Blake, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thanks a lot for having me, guys.
It's good to have you here. And you were telling us before the show started that you were particularly busy during this last year of pandemic conditions. And why is that? A lot of people thinking about going into the franchise world these days?
Yeah, people see a certain level of security in franchising. It's been around for a while, and if you're starting a business and thinking, maybe I want to learn from somebody else's successes and failures rather than making my own. And the other factor that we see in any downturn is folks who are the corporate refugees. They've been downsized or they're looking for something more to create some more security. They may look towards franchising in some of those industries that do really well in markets like this. So home improvement businesses, healthcare, education, a lot of those in the franchising space. And people will look to those as a form of security to build additional income.
So as the head of FranNet of the Heartland, I've said franchise guru, franchise consultant, but maybe before we go too much further, why don't you give people an idea about what type of franchising consulting you do and how it works?
And sure. FranNet is a franchise, right?
That's correct. We practice what we preach. So to answer both of your questions or comments, I'm a local small business franchise owner of FranNet of the Heartland. And what I do at the end of the day is I help folks who are thinking about starting a business, wanting to research franchising, or at least understand, is franchising one of the routes I should be contemplating as I'm thinking about entering small business for the first time or the 10th time. And I help people understand what it's like to be a local small business franchise owner and what's out there and how to do research the right way.
And I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but at FranNet, you usually get paid by the franchisor, the companies that issue the franchises to your clients, right?
That's correct. If my client is the buyer, then it's like a buyer's agent, right, in real estate. So I'm out there working on behalf of my client, the couple, the individual that's looking for a new small business in town, and my service is free to them because we're all about finding the right match between those individuals that are looking for the business and the pre-vetted franchise opportunities that we've profiled to understand what their top-performing franchise owners look like. And so when you guys hear me say we're like the Match.com for local entrepreneurs, that's where the magic of my job comes in, is seeing if we can kind of find a match between what folks are looking for a new business and what those top-performing franchise opportunities are looking for in a new franchise owner in the area. And yes, when we make that match, it's the franchise or the seller that's paying us, so it's free to the individual in the local market.
Is it true that if your clients are vaccinated, that they have a 14% greater chance of landing that perfect franchise?
Oh, absolutely. I heard 16.5%. But
oh, wow.
14's
You
fine.
beat the White House average. That's awesome.
Of course, 35% of all statistics are made up. We're
25% of the time.
35% of the time, yeah.
Well, I thought that was 17%.
We're talking with Blake Martin, FranNet of the Heartland. It would be kind of foolish for someone to go into the franchise world knowing that they can have your representation services at somebody else's cost. So you had mentioned earlier the term education businesses and maybe some others that were popular. What are the types of franchise businesses that seem really hot these days?
That is a great question. And I will
Work
say,
from home.
Yeah, working from home businesses, which is all of them, right? So, yeah, education type businesses, certainly businesses that have proven to be not only recession resistant over all the cycles. I've been in the franchising field, I guess, through about 5 or 6 downturns. But then those that also turned out to be not only COVID resistant, but thriving during these conditions that we've seen in the last 14 months. And yeah, it includes businesses like distance learning or tutoring businesses, which falls into education, needless to say, home improvement businesses, specifically niche home improvement businesses, and certainly services like home health care that have always done really well in the franchising space to begin with. People saw the opportunity for continued growth in a space like that.
Traditionally and historically, when people would think of buying a franchise, usually having a McDonald's would come to mind.
Yep.
And now franchises are so much broader than that. In fact, I'm sometimes shocked about what you can franchise. But given that, I would like to ask you, how significant or what big of a presence do restaurant franchises still have in the people that you talk to? And then part two of the question, what are some types of businesses that are franchised that surprise even you that they are franchises?
Great questions.
Thank you.
So yeah, the food and beverage or restaurant industry still plays a big role in the franchising field. As far as a percentage of our overall inventory of businesses, we work with about 250 pre-vetted businesses that are franchise concepts. And about 7% of those fall into the food and beverage category. So that means 90+% are not. And that's simply because we understand that not one size fits all in business ownership. But certainly when you look at the franchise brands nationally that have multiple locations or dozens of locations within a metro like in Omaha, Des Moines, Lincoln, you certainly see a large percentage of those being in the food and beverage space. So remind me of part B of your question.
What are some industries or types of businesses that are now franchised that surprise even you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So just help somebody start up a what's called Monster Tree, which is a tree trimming, tree pruning, and cutting business. It's like for people who love playing with big toys, right? Big industrial toys. And that is a very successful franchise system that has grown dramatically and has some great margins. And who would ever guess that, carrying around a chainsaw and the equipment associated with that would be a very franchisable concept. Also, swim lessons for kids. There's some really good franchises out there for swim lessons for kids, and that's something that people don't normally think about when they think of franchising.
And the thing about franchising, which I like, is it really cuts your learning curve. And as you said earlier, that you learn from other people's mistakes after years and years of trial and error. But it really allows them to say, okay, here's what I'm getting. The pro formas are there, the help with everything else, and you can help guide them. And so it really gets people to get open a lot sooner. They can learn about financing. They can learn about the lifestyle. And there's got to be a huge advantage to all that.
Couldn't agree more, Trent. And I'm the living example of that. I was in this field before I started FranNet of the Heartland, but realized that the resources and tools that they could bring to me to help me get to and beyond profitability much more quickly than I could do on my own, it just made sense to me. I get it. Franchising isn't for everybody, but I do think everybody should at least explore it as an option. I looked at it and said, we have all these assessment tools that are benchmarked against decades of people getting into businesses successfully. And even if I was really good at benchmarking, I still wouldn't have the luxury of that kind of data and analysis that my franchisor brings to the table, not to mention just being able to rely on other franchise owners, peers, who've been there and done that, and I can go out and ask them questions about, how they've overcome certain challenges.
So if I want to take a walk or run on the franchise side, but I don't know what I want to do, is there like a placement, like kind of like a career assessment that you can go through with people?
Absolutely. We call it a personal franchise assessment or entrepreneur profile, and it helps people understand in key areas what types of businesses could be a good match for them based upon their skills, their goals, priorities, what they're trying to get out of the business, as well as understanding, hey, does franchising make a lot of sense for you? Or would you be that person that's better off? What you really need to do is hang your own shingle and just do this on your own.
And also figure out, like, fund-wise and what they need to have capital-wise and things like that, and time-wise and lifestyle-wise, I'm sure.
Exactly. And that's where we try to teach from our own experience being franchise owners.
Now, at FranNet of the Heartland, you had indicated you have a large group of pre-approved franchises. But let's say a person is looking at a new franchise or a new-ish franchise. It seems like they're being created all the time. And I think one of the questions people have is, gosh, when is it safe to do you want to be one of the first 10 franchisees of a new franchise? Or do you want to come in when a franchise has been around for 30 years and maybe it's oversaturated? What are some general thoughts, Blake, you have about that?
Well, I'll start with, it depends a lot upon where you fall, where that particular investor falls on the spectrum of risk aversion, right? I have folks who come to me who it's clear that what they live for is that brand new opportunity. And then I have others who come to me, a little bit more like myself, to be honest, where I say, we're probably looking for the security of something that has been there, done that, in the same or similar markets. And so what I would say to folks that are looking at something new is, let's look at and make sure that the pedigree of the organization is experienced. Maybe they're new to franchising, but they've been running this location or the flagship locations for 15, 20 years, and those people are still involved in the day-to-day of the business. And they've got folks on their team who really understand franchising and how to build relationships between the home office and the local franchise owners. In that case, you've got a bit of an advantage because you've got the experience you need. It's just that you're going to be one of the trailblazers. You're going to have to take more of a pioneer mindset if you're one of those first franchise owners, and take some lumps with the franchisor as they're learning how to become a franchisor.
Yeah, grow with them.
Yep.
So as we wrap up here, Blake, if someone wants to talk to you to maybe start this process, what do they do? What happens first?
Well, first thing is, reach out to me, and we will work with them on education is always the first stage. What does the franchising industry look like in the year 2021? And does it make sense for you to research this category? And if we like where we are after that, then we'll move into the self-assessment stage where we help to understand and literally build a blueprint of what the ideal business might look like for them, which leads us to that matching stage.
Okay.
First 10 callers get a free assessment. Just mention the Grow Omaha show.
Thank you. The name of the company is FranNet of the Heartland. Blake Martin, appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate you having me.
Our pleasure. We'll have you back sometime and get an update. All right. Blake Martin, FranNet of the Heartland.
If you like this video, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. And remember, Grow Omaha is not just media. This is a mission. We are trying to build up Omaha and make it an even better place. We can only do that with your help. Share this video with your friends, neighbors, and family.